Hey there, internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of AC Saturday. Kind of just dropping the AC Discovery name because I don't really see a point to it, and so AC Saturday it is. When I talk about anime and or comics, my watched through of My Hero Academia continues today after a couple weeks off, or after a week off because of PSX last week. But I'm back today to discuss Deku versus Kacchan and Bakugo's start line. Deku versus Kacchan might be my favorite episode of the series yet. We get to see, when we last left off, they were doing kind of the student trial in All Might's class where you had the heroes trying to capture a nuclear weapon from the villains in a live exercise kind of thing. And so we were very much pitting Deku and Kacchan together to kind of work out some of their stuff. And in this episode, we got a lot of great flashbacks to kind of their childhood, and we got to see really Deku's love and admiration for Kacchan, despite Kacchan kind of always being a jerk who thinks he's the best. He very much, we kind of get to see here maybe that he's very much a big fish in a small pond kind of person who maybe has kind of always been told and always been like looked at as like the best of the best when he was a kid versus when he was getting his quirk versus like through his high school years. Deku always looked up to him, and Kacchan was always kind of like, yeah, I'm the best, haha, blah. We get to see here in the present day, Deku continues to use his smarts and his analysis and his strategy, while Kacchan relies almost entirely on impulse. And so Deku is able to kind of get the upper hand a couple times, but Kacchan was able to use this special power weapon that he's got. Basically, his arm turns into like a giant explosive projectile, and we get to see a little bit more how his power works. He basically sweats nitroglycerin, so that's how he can shoot explosions from his hands. And when the sweat is pooling up in his little grenade arm things, he can use that. He pulls the pin and it shoots out a crazy explosion, which he uses to effectively try and scare Deku into giving up or into like using his power and facing him head on, because Kacchan is consistently under the impression that Deku has been lying to him about being quirkless and that he's been doing this all as a trick, as a personal affront to Kacchan. And so Deku tries to get the upper hand, fails a little bit, but then he realizes he's got to use his power. He's got to use the All Might power, the All for One, and he does so not in an attack against Kacchan, but rather he uses an uppercut to basically destroy the building up above him, so that Ochako can grab a pillar up there, use it with her like power to basically make things float, and she basically uses it to whack away Ida, who's been really getting into his role playing as the villain, and then she kind of uses her ability to float herself over onto the nuke, and the hero team wins, but with both members of the hero team very much like having eliminated themselves effectively, since both of them drained their energy enough through the use of their power that Deku is down with a busted arm again, and Uchaka is basically vomiting again, or ready to vomit again because of her exertion. So the heroes win the battle, as I think the students say, but they lose the battle, but they win the war. And it was a great kind of team up attack. I love the kind of the impromptu combo attack there. And again, it just kind of speaks to Deku is going to kind of, he does use his smarts throughout this almost entirely because he can't control his power. He can't use it and not hurt himself. So he uses it only as a last resort. But here we get to see him really like rage and say that, yeah, he wants to be a hero, but he also wants to do this to beat Kacchan. Sorry, he wants to beat Kacchan because he's ready to kind of surpass him, and he wants to do that. He thinks Kacchan is amazing, but he wants to be better than Kacchan. So it's an interesting little like rage moment at the end that leads him into his massive uppercut through the rest of the building. So really good episode. I loved again the flashbacks and the relationship building between those two characters, between Deku and Kacchan. We really get to see kind of the history that led them to where they are today. Moving on to Bakugo's start line. That episode picks up right after Deku versus Kacchan leaves off. Basically, the hero team gets sent off to the infirmary, and All Might basically says, okay, well let's review the results. And one of the girls in the class, Momo something, who I don't know what her power is yet, but she was one of the 4 students recommended for the hero training, and she also has just a very sharp analytical mind, because she basically goes through point by point. Well, here's why Ida was the MVP of the match. He adjusted most to accommodate the surroundings. Bakugo went and did his own thing, and his use of kind of an all-out attack in the enclosed space was reckless. Similarly, Deku did the same thing with his attack, and Ochaka was incapacitated herself as well, also reckless. So they kind of say Ida, did the best and kind of lived within the rules of the simulation. So that was a nice little introduction to her character as like, oh, she's pretty smart. So I look forward to maybe seeing where she goes and how she fits into the larger picture of the class. Elsewhere, we get to meet a couple of the other members, or at least a couple of them get highlighted and get their little splash screen with these are their quirks, and that is Mezu Shoji, who has the quirk for duplicate arms, and he's the guy who basically gets like 6 arms that apparently can grow mouths, and I don't quite know what his ability is, but it's certainly a striking visual one. And then you have kind of the MVP of the episode, I think, ends up being Shoto Todoroki, who's half cold, half hot. He's the guy with, basically split down the middle and ice on one side, and then he's just kind of a normal guy on the other. He goes in, basically touches the wall, freezes everything, just calmly walks up, touches the nuke, and then like cools everything or warms everything back up again. In there also you had like a guy with a beastie tail and an invisible girl. And then we also get kind of little quick splashes of a lot of the other members of the team, but we don't necessarily get to see too many of their powers. There's one girl who it looks like basically she's got earbuds hanging from her hair that she can just plug into anything and hear what's going on. So yeah, I didn't get to learn more, or I didn't get like the full. I wanted to find out who all these characters are, kind of in rapid succession, and then at the end of the episode, they do kind of start like just immediately like bum rushing names and stuff. And I was like, I'm not gonna keep up with any of that. I don't remember who any of those people are. So that's what we had on the student front. Elsewhere, All Might goes to check on Deku in the infirmary, and we get to see that the most of the UA staff knows about All Might's kind of weakened state and his like secret identity there, but only 4 particular people know about his quirk and its ability to pass on from one person to the next, and that is Deku, that is Recovery Girl, who he's talking to and kind of confiding in here, the principal, and then a mysterious personal friend of his that he mentions. So we get to kind of see those secrets, and then the episode kind of closes with Deku coming out of the infirmary, getting like cheered on by a lot of his classmates, and then some of them also like deride him and say, you did terrible in that exercise, but other people were really impressed with him, and that's where we get the bum rush of all the students' names that I just couldn't keep up with. But when he recognizes that Bakugo isn't there, he goes off to try and confront him and talk to him. And he goes with the intent of saying, I wasn't tricking you, I wasn't trying to trick you, but instead he just kind of blurts out like his secret that he was quirkless. This has been like passed on to him. It's a borrowed power now, but he's going to try and make it his own so that he can beat Bakugo in the future. and surpass him. And so he kind of like he went there with good intentions and then just kind of got carried away and ends up pissing off Bakugo even more. And so it'll be interesting to see, how I'm very curious to see how Bakugo straddles the line between hero and villain, because he's obviously very much a villain to Deku, but he seems to want to be a hero. He seems to want to be the best hero. So it'll be interesting to see if he stays on that path or if he goes down a darker route. So those are my thoughts on these couple episodes. Let me know what you thought about them in the comments below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.